So one of the things that made the site better was that, of course, I had other people writing it. So the question is, well, how did I do that? And I think my answer now is different than it would have been at the time. I would never, on my own, have asked people to write. Now, that's wrong. I should have, but I just wouldn't have done that. But they asked me. So I said, sure. Well, we have to come up with some standards for who can write and how they should write, but I didn't. So now we have standards because my staff had the wisdom to say, we've got to have standards. And so back then, I basically let anybody write. Some of the people were very good. One of the initial people was Dr. Deborah Zinger at Ohio State, and she was really a guiding force in making the website what it was. Not only did she write, but she said, oh, you need an editorial board. And I said, okay, what do I do now? And and she helped me set it up. And I think it's worked out. Now, right now, even if I tried to be passive, they'll say, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Even though I'm the owner, it's really important to listen to your staff. You could theoretically threaten them and say, well, no, we're going to do it my way. But I don't think you're going to have a successful business. So I try to listen to my staff when they come up with ideas. And they have a lot of ideas, and that's what's made it better as far as recruiting and promoting and sometimes ending relationships with authors if they do something that's unforgivable, like plagiarism, or if they disappear and stop, responding to answers. But that's how I did it. So initially, I was the first author. And if you look on our website, we have now about 4,700 topics. And the number one author is me. Of course, I wrote everything to begin with. And now we've updated everything. But some of the topics are really not very popular. So they're a very low priority to update. Any of the popular ones, maybe I wrote them, but somebody else has written them since. For a long time, I stopped writing because I had to run the company. And I should be running the company, and you really can't do everything. But a lot of their stuff is very low read stuff. So, we're not pursuing their stuff. We'll get to it eventually. They did it. We had nobody else. Maybe it wasn't great, but it was better than nothing. So. Well, we really want the website to be accurate and relevant. And to do that, we rely on our editors. We have an editorial board and board of reviewers and a resident fellow advisory board. And we've got 3 editors-in-chief, 1 current and 2 prior. And they do the oversight to make sure that all the topics are relevant. So once a year, we try to review the table of contents of every chapter, and they will tell us, oh, this needs to be renamed, this is no longer a valid concept, there's new ideas. We also get people who write to us and say, I think this is something new that you should include. And we run it by our editorial board, and they say yes or no, or maybe at some point in the future, but not quite yet. When I started the website, I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought, well, I'm going to write this for me because I was doing locum tenens work in a Detroit area hospital. I can't bring all my books with me. And even if I could bring some to my office, sometimes I have to do frozen sections and I have to hustle off to the other end of the hospital. I certainly can't bring any books, but there was always a computer. So I thought, well, I'll use it. Would anybody else use it? Well, my mother would look at it, but a couple times. But I really had no idea whether anybody would use it. And I thought, well, if I can get 200 visits a day, that would be amazing. And amazingly, at 1 year, we got the 200 visits a day. I tried to promote it, to tell everybody I could about it. And people would give feedback, and some of it was, oh, these colors on your website are just horrible. I can't stand them. And then sometimes they'd say, oh, you should write about this, or you should add images, or you should add, more references or something like that. The other thing was I'd go to conferences and people would come up and say, I love your website. We weren't making any money at all. We had some ads, but we had a lot of expenses because I started to build up staff. I had my website, I was still practicing law, but I wasn't actually making any money. So I thought, well, I'm not making money on the website, but at least I'm getting some ego boosting because people are coming up. So that was kind of a big thing. And then the other memory, I still remember, we went to a conference, and we were next to a website that people loved, and then they started charging for it, and people really got mad. And they went to that booth, and they were screaming at the people. And we were right next door. And then they started screaming at me. And they said, "You're going to start charging too, aren't you?" I said, "No, no, no, that's not our philosophy." And so I remember that, and we decided we're just not going to be in a booth next to them, because if people want to be mad at them, that's fine, but we don't want to be mad at us, because we never, I mean, the whole purpose of starting this website was to make information free. So I would never have charged, as long as I was running it. I didn't want to be associated with anybody who did charge. Maybe they should charge. I'm not judging them, but we weren't going to charge.